We all love the IRS, especially now that they're using private corporations to track you. If their purpose is to stop wealthy tax cheats, why are they spying on your social media? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Remember to follow us on social media, unless you're the IRS, in which case, back off. And this episode is sponsored by Surfshark. Whenever you go online, you should be using a VPN like Surfshark to protect yourself. And by the time you're done watching this episode, you'll know exactly why that's so important. So Joe Biden is slowly but surely transforming his presidential dreams into reality. Last week, the House of Representatives passed his $1.7 trillion social spending plan, also known as the Build Back Better Act.
Jubilant Democrats.
The Build Back Better bill is passed.
Months after inter-party wrangling over the size, scope, and contents of the measure, paid off with a mostly united Democratic caucus.
This bill is monumental. It's bigger than anything we've ever done.
A nearly $1.7 trillion spending package, pared back from its original price tag, but still packed with long-standing Democratic priorities.
It includes billions of dollars in funding for climate change initiatives, universal pre-K, child tax credits, paid leave, Medicaid, and affordable housing. The Build Back Better bill now heads to the Senate, where lawmakers will decide whether to make changes to the bill. It's an expensive bill, which obviously raises the question, where is the money going to come from? When asked about the bill's price tag, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen responded with, "Dogecoin to the moon!" which is concerning for many reasons. But according to President Biden, the money is going to come from taxing the rich. Biden says the richest Americans need to pay their fair share of taxes. And some Democrats have been pushing for a tax that would force the wealthy to pay taxes on stocks they haven't sold yet, a tax Senator Elizabeth Warren said would make billionaires cry. Well, guess what? That plan died. But you know what is still alive and kicking? The U.S. Treasury Department's plan to raise money by buying meme coins. Actually, their plan is even less realistic than that. They want to reduce the tax gap, the amount of money the IRS believes is owed in taxes, but people skip out on. Earlier in October, we talked about the Biden administration's plan to narrow the tax gap by looking into bank accounts. It raised a lot of concerns about privacy and its impact on average Americans and small businesses. Even some Democrats took issue with that, which was why 21 congressional Democrats sent a letter to Speaker Nancy Pelosi asking that the tax information reporting regime be removed from the Build Back Better bill. So, that plan died too. But it seems now the Treasury Department has a new plan to crack down on people who don't pay taxes. And it doesn't rely on banks reporting your account balance. Instead, it relies on tracking everything you do online. Great. Much better. I'll explain how they're going to do that after the break. Welcome back. We talked in a recent episode about how police have been using mass surveillance of cell phone data to track down potential suspects, something called geofence warrants. But the IRS has an even better plan. And by that I mean a more sophisticated way to violate your privacy. It allows them to spy on you without a warrant while technically not violating the Constitution. Earlier this month, The Intercept reported that the U.S. Treasury is buying private app data. And if that data suggests an individual isn't paying all their taxes, the IRS may go after them. The IRS is buying data from a company called Babel Street. It specializes in analyzing social media and linguistics. Already, the Department of Homeland Security, county governments, law enforcement agencies, and the FBI use Babel Street software to keep tabs on dangerous individuals. It can surveil millions of URLs, including the deep web, and it has highly customizable filtering options, including for hashtags, emojis, handles, names, and keywords. Oh, and as of last year, it's AI-powered. Users of Babel Street software can also filter for numerical sequences like credit card, or social security numbers. That could be handy if you're a scammer or work for the IRS. In a request for contract solicitations, the IRS stated that it wants contractors like Babel Street to provide a more efficient way of identifying resources and assisting with the collection of known tax deficiencies. How? By allowing authorized IRS personnel to access data from any location, reducing the need for physical geographic presence. So they don't need to show up at your door anymore or ask to see whether that $5,000 foosball table you bought is really a legitimate business expense. Now they can just track what you do online and whether you're dumb enough to make a social media post of yourself in front of it. This would give the IRS the ability to collect income taxes owed to the federal government that were previously thought to be uncollectible through third-party data. The amount of information that the IRS wants to look up is frightening. It's a lot more than just income sources, employment histories, and business affiliations. They want to be provided with biometrics, photo and video footage from social media, and reports showing that a taxpayer participated in an online chat room, blog, or forum, and reports showing the chat room or blog conversation threads. Babel Street will likely sell them all that and more. It signed a $150,000 contract with the IRS to provide software that captures information from public-facing digital media records. This might include a tool called LocateX. It's a software with legally dubious privacy provisions that can track the movements of individuals based on geolocation data from mobile apps. The Fourth Amendment to the Constitution protects citizens against unreasonable searches, but only by the government, but doesn't protect citizens against social media corporations' unreadable 50-page privacy policies, which make you agree to let them sell your data to third parties. And if the IRS is just buying data from a private company, hey, no problem. No warrant needed. Now you might think, since most of the tax gap comes from the wealthiest 5% of Americans, why would the IRS want to monitor everyone's social media accounts? Well, according to Jack Polson, the founder of the nonprofit Tech Inquiry, the IRS has already largely given up on auditing the ultra-wealthy. He claims that the U.S. surveillance industry is being used to spy on small businesses and the self-employed, and to help shift the tax burden to the working class. Is this true? I'll tell you more after the break. Welcome back. It's pretty easy for the IRS to tax people who have a regular job. They just take money directly out of your paycheck. But what about self-employed people and small business owners? These are the real hooligans. The people who write off the entire cost of their electric drill, even though they occasionally need it for personal use. Tax cheats. So is this IRS scheme to buy private data and use it to target tax evaders really just a plan to shift the tax burden to the working class? Hard to say, but the Biden administration has a track record of using private companies to sidestep the Constitution. For example, to implement vaccine mandates. And if IRS surveillance is actually being used largely to target small businesses and the self-employed, this might suggest Biden's plan has nothing to do with targeting the wealthy. And if you think the Biden administration is fighting for working-class Americans, just look at his Build Back Better bill, where he breaks his pledge to not raise taxes on people making less than $400,000. According to the Senate Finance Committee, the latest House version of the bill provides only fleeting and limited tax relief to low and middle income earners. This is based on an analysis by the Joint Committee on Taxation, which shows that taxes on middle-class families would rise as early as 2023. By 2023, merely 3.5% of those earning between $50,000 and $75,000 will receive any kind of tax cut. Meanwhile, some high-income households could get a tax cut under the Build Back Better plan. This is thanks to House Democrats including an adjustment to the cap on how much state and local taxes people can deduct from their federal taxes. Rather than capping the deductions at $10,000 a year, the new plan would increase it to $80,000. This was supposedly to help families who've been unfairly double taxed, but experts across the political spectrum, including the Tax Policy Center and Americans for Tax Reform, say this does little for the middle class. It instead uses budget gimmicks to provide giveaways for the wealthy. A former chair of President Barack Obama's Council of Economic Advisors said the bill would do more for the super rich than it does for climate change, childcare, or preschool. That's obscene. Others say the Build Back Better plan is a massive, under-the-radar tax cut for the wealthy. If Biden's bill continues as is, with the backing of the surveillance industry, this could backfire on Democrats. They've campaigned on taxing the rich and helping the poor and working class. But making this bill into law as is could make them look like hypocrites. Maybe the U.S. Treasury should just buy meme coins instead. And this episode is sponsored by Surfshark. If you're as concerned as I am about the IRS hiring private companies to monitor your online activities, you might want to use a VPN. Like, all the time. And that's why we've been working with Surfshark for so many years. Surfshark VPN is one of the key tools you'll need to protect yourself from tracking by advertisers, big tech, and ultimately government agencies. Even though you're probably not doing anything illegal, do you really need the government watching you all the time? Surfshark secures your data with top-of-the-line, uncrackable encryption and secure VPN protocols. And to further protect your privacy, Surfshark doesn't keep logs of what you do. It even has a server network in the British Virgin Islands where local laws allow companies to not keep user data logs. So if you need a VPN, and believe me you do, go with Surfshark. You can use one account across all your devices. Plus, Surfshark has a special Black Friday deal going on right now. It includes 83% off a 2-year plan plus 4 extra months for free. Go to surfshark.com/uncovered and use the code UNCOVERED to get their deal that includes 4 extra months for free. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.